On day 1, I emerged from the underground as a low-level bank robber, ready to pull off my latest and possibly greatest act of thievery. I only have 4 hearts, so maybe I need the money from this heist to pay for getting a bigger health bar. All of a sudden, I saw my natural enemy, a detective, appear out of a parking garage where I had been hiding out from my previous caper.
Freeze, punk! I'm Detective Pacino, and you're under arrest.
He showed off a powerful freezing bow, which told me that when he said freeze, he meant it. I ducked for cover as freezing bolts came zooming towards me. A bunch more officers arrived with Detective Pacino, and it seemed like they had formed a perimeter around me. I had better get out of here. I ran over to a nearby parking lot and hotwired the first car I saw. It was time. I floored the gas and went whooshing down the road, avoiding more frosty projectiles from the cops. Soon enough, I was out of range and was able to cruise down the road with a bit less of a frantic pace. Oh boy, this much attention already. I need to make sure all the prep work for my new robbery is smarter than ever. Nobody told me that a life of crime would test my brain so much. On the way to my safe house, I stopped at a roadside rest stop and spent the night. On day 2, I got away to my soon-to-be getaway and robbed enough materials from the nearby houses. I found some useful building materials in a chest and then broke into the display stands to get myself some stone tools. I was still missing a ranged weapon, so I did some more thievery and got my grubby hand on a super rad crossbow. Running from the fuzz had made my head pretty fuzzy and my stomach pretty rumbly. I could really go for a burglar burger right now. Where's some fiendish fries when you need them? Knowing I couldn't show my face in a public establishment, I had to settle for some lousy apples in the meantime. I wish these were golden apples instead. Those are worth their weight in, well, gold. Replenished, but a little disappointed. I started searching for a place to stay when I spotted an apartment building I liked and got to work on decorating one of the apartments. It was small, but secure, far enough away from any law-abiders looking for a wanted man like me. You know, it's nice to feel wanted, even if it is because I committed a federal crime. I left my base and hotwired a Vespa. I made some wheelies around the old town because kicking up the dust with my tires looked really cool. But then, an enemy of cool, an angry police officer, turned up.
I should have known you'd be out here in the old streets, given the way you've deserted your moral compass.
I don't need a compass to tell me where to go with my life choices. Eat my dusty entrails. I drove circles around the officer before taking off into the distance, movie-esque style. Hope you like them, donuts.
You can't run from the law forever, criminal.
Whoops, my engine revved over the cop's screams. On day 3, I went looking for one of my old partners in crime from a cool and detailed backstory. It looks like he retired to this peaceful neighborhood. Boring! I bet he'll be excited to go back to robbing banks instead. I walked up to a stately, yet tranquil manor house and knocked on the door. The unfamiliar voice of a guard answered.
Who's there?
It's me, Zozo, the bank robber.
You're robbing us?
That all depends on if you're a bank. I'm just kidding. I'm actually looking for a weaponsmith who is supposed to live around here. Have you seen him?
Nice try. Like I tell you that Smith Weapon, the weaponsmith, lives here, and the only way to see him is to go through me, the guard of this house.
But are you telling me that?
You never should have come here.
The guard approached and punched me in the face. It hurt, but I was a hardened criminal, so I responded to the violence with more violence. We brawled for a bit until I knocked him unconscious. My hearts were low though, so I went inside, searching for a way to restore my health. Hey, Smith, you in here? That's when I heard another voice, and this one was familiar.
Zozo, you slick son of a zombie.
It was Smith Weapon, the weaponsmith.
What are you doing here?
I'm about to do a big job, Smith, and law enforcement is already onto me, so I'll need some serious weapons to pull it off.
I don't know. I'm retired now.
But what about now?
Shoot, I'm in.
Awesome. Let's head back to the safe house. I'll explain more when we get there. From day 4 to day 5, I set Smith Weapon up with a menacing room in our apartment hideout fit for a villain and and lined wall to wall with fancy weapon holders.
Holsters, scabbards, and racks? Thanks, Zozo. This is crazy.
Not as crazy as our time back in Crane Bay Prison. Remember when we started a lunchroom food fight that lasted 16 total hours?
Oh, those were the days.
And nights.
And years.
Smith and I shared a hearty, heartfelt laugh, but we were cut short by a third chuckling goon not too far off from our safe house.
Who's laughing at us? What's so funny, eh?
Calm down, Smithster. I can handle this. I grabbed a hat from my crate of villainous disguises and put it on, then opened our front door to the chuckling cop on our porch. Good afternoon, my good man. What do I owe the pleasure?
I was just laughing at how I'm about to turn your safe house into just a house, criminal. Hands where I can see 'em.
My, how rude! I'm no criminal. I'm the richest man in all of the overworld. See all my totally legally acquired bags of money all over my house?
I mean, you do have a hat, and in our police sketch, Zozo doesn't have one of those.
Yes, no man can put on a hat this stylish in less than a day. Now get off my property, fiend, and give me those dual crossbows you have, or I'll sue you. I can afford 15 lawyers at once.
Oh, makes sense to me.
The cop handed me his weapon and headed off like a silly goose. Hey, Smith, I've got us a new weapon for the weapons wall. From day 6 to day 8, I decided to commit grand sheep auto and steal some sheep for my safe house. I drove around and came across a bunch of sheep in a village. I swiftly loaded them up in my new borrowed Jeep. With all this wool, I'll be able to make so many wool caps to wear over my face. They'll never know who I am. But all good things must come to an end because my snatching of the sheep was witnessed by an anonymous caller who contacted Detective Pacino. Soon enough, the detective was on my tail as I hauled the bunch of sheep away.
Zozo the bank robber, you've been suspected of stealing sheep from several farms throughout the local neighborhood. We're on to you.
I hastily put on my disguise hat and turned to speak with the detective. I threw in a goofy accent to make it convincing. I am not a bank robber. I am Von Stein of Vonland. What do you want?
Did you think you'd really fool me with that?
I removed my silly Von Stein disguise and faced Detective Pacino as myself. I guess I couldn't pull the wool over your eyes, detective. The detective pulled out a rapid crossbow. Whoa! Since when does the Force let you use that kind of hardware?
It's not justice unless you go overboard, Zozo.
Fortunately, my getaway car was faster, and I zipped off with reckless abandon. You'll never catch me, copper! From day 9 to day 10, I drove circles around our safe house, specifically over the law-sanctioned speed limit. As I popped some wheelies, I noticed Smith building something crazy big nearby. Smith, what are you doing? We're making a criminal safe house, not a Batman beacon. That thing is huge. It's gonna attract all sorts of coppers.
Don't worry about it, Zozo. I'm a beginner sculptor. I only picked up non-criminal hobbies after I retired. And being I'm not very skilled, whatever I make will only detract from people looking at it.
Are you building an eyesore on my property? What even is that supposed to be?
Art is subjective, and it's a surprise.
Did you build anything else around here that I may need to take a look at?
Oh yeah, follow me. While you were figure-eighting on the front lawn, I upgraded the safe house. We've now got a furnace,
To burn evidence with.
a storage room,
To keep our tons of money.
and a computer room.
To dabble in cybercrime. You know, I've always wanted to try online bank heists. It sounds comfy, thieving millions from your own couch.
Yeah, but you've gotta get back out once in a while. Nothing beats the classic brick and mortar holdup.
And how? Thanks for the sweet new addition, Smith. Who knew you were good at smithing things outside of weaponry?
Retirement allowed me to hone my skills. I'm happy to be back in the bad business though.
Me too, buddy. I couldn't be doing all this heisting without ya. From day 11 to day 12, Detective Pacino coordinated a visit to the most heavily guarded bank in the entire overworld, the super secure bank at the edge of the city. He gathered together the entire staff in order to give them a warning about me, since he knew that sometime in the next 100 days, I'd pull off my grand heist.
Zozo has been robbing banks from day one. It's like he spawned into the world with a single purpose, and that was to rob banks. Over the course of his criminal career, he has worked with a variety of colorful yet shady characters, some of which my department are already aware of, and others that will be revealed later as part of Zozo's very cool and detailed backstory. It's important that you remember this warning now, because when Zozo comes for the massive sum of money contained within the vault, and believe me, he will, you must get acquainted with all of his special skills and weird tricks. I failed to catch him when he was a small-time crook, and every day I live with that mess-up. That's why I have vowed that one day I'll catch him, even if it's the last thing I do.
The detective slammed his fist down dramatically on the nearest flat surface to show everyone how awesome and totally dedicated to being a cool dude he was. If I'd have been there, I'd probably have forgotten to run away for a second, because I would have been a little bit impressed. From day 13 to day 15, I made a mad driving dash to Smith Weapon's old mansion. Police, open up! The replacement guard was immediately startled.
Stay back! I'm a guard, classically trained in kickboxing, karate, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and 17,000 other fighting styles. I won't hesitate to deploy right into your ugly mug.
That won't be necessary, buddy. I'm just pranking you. Pretty good cop impression, huh? I am a master of disguise after all, which includes disguising my voice.
I'll be disguising your body in a bag if you pull a prank like that on me ever again.
No need. This is the last time you'll be seeing me. And technically, the last time you saw Smith was the last time too.
You destroyed him?
What? No! He's a longtime crime buddy of mine. He's just moved in with me now. We're roomies, like the good old days when we double bunked in jail. Because he's back in the biz, he doesn't need this property anymore, or his mansion guardsman. So I'm here to bring you your severance pay.
I'm being fired. Oh, I'll show you severance pay. You'll pay with your severed head.
Smith's guard began to strike me silly, so I pulled out my pair of dual crossbows. There's like 50 gazillion bucks I'm offering you here, man. You'd never have to work another day in your life.
I live to guard.
Smith's new guard wasn't going down without a fight. Left with no choice, I took him out and gathered the emeralds I dropped on the ground during our battle. I may have almost lost my life, but I won't be losing any of my sweet, sweet cash. I did a little victory jump into the air, which was a lot higher than usual. Winning that battle must have given me a jump boost and 9 hearts to boot. Take that, law-abiders. I hop over rules like a crime kangaroo. From day 16 to day 19, I took a break taking stuff and making it mine so that I could mine stuff and take it from the mine. Sure, why not? I just say words sometimes. I had heard the idea of a criminal going underground before. This was about as literal as I could get with it. I was tunneling through stone in search of iron ore, which isn't as valuable as anything I could get from a bank vault, but it could definitely be used to get me a better pickaxe for mining. I sometimes wonder why so much of my life revolves around mining, and then I remember this is a Minecraft channel. But I wasn't the only one looking for iron ore down here in the pits. It seemed that a bunch of wandering traders had gone underground too, and didn't want anyone to muscle in on their territory. It was a good thing that I was so strong, and tons better at fighting than any of them, because I was able to absolutely wipe the mines with a lot of them. That'll teach you guys to get between me and material wealth. Shortly after, I came upon the iron ore vein. Those traders must have been keeping this to themselves, but now it was all mine. I mined a decent amount of ore and used it to get myself some boots and give my pickaxe that well-earned upgrade. Iron pickaxe for the win. I'm so cool. From day 20 to day 22, I was interrupted from my how-to cybercrime webinar by Smith Weapon, who was super distressed about something.
Zozo, we need to talk, like right now.
Smith, I paid $300 for this tutorial on cybercrime, and I intend to get my money's worth.
Just watching a YouTube video of some guy playing Minecraft for 100 days as a land shark. I think you're the one who got scammed, man.
This video is entertaining, and land sharks are one step away from loan sharks, so at least I'm learning something criminal adjacent. Get off my back.
Until you get Detective Pacino off our sidewalk.
Huh? I looked out our window to see lo and behold, Detective Pacino waving around a rapid crossbow in a less than threatening manner. The only person who looks awesome holding weapons is me. Get your lame fuzz butt off my property, old man.
You're not even a property owner, Zozo. You just moved into this safe house without paying.
Housing is a universal right.
And in my book, so is detaining criminals. So let's do things the easy way. Come down from your porch and surrender yourself, or I'll come inside and eject you personally.
With what warrant? Detective Pacino and I stared viscerally at each other in a dramatic, widescreen movie stalemate. You're getting old, Al.
Your tricks are getting old.
Ever thought about retiring?
Not until you're behind bars.
Then I guess you'll be chasing me to the grave.
Not unless I bury you first.
Pacino ominously walked off. Meeting his gaze only made me less afraid. He wasn't some otherworldly crime solver. He was only human, just like me. But unlike him, I intended to win this game of life. And maybe a game of Monopoly. I could use some extra cash. From day 23 to day 26, I received a package, specifically a chest, in the mail. How did someone get my address? I don't even have an actual address. The letter inside the chest read, "Heard about you on the news. Proud of what you've achieved. Congrats on the new car. Thought you could use a little gift from an old friend. See you soon. Signed, Big B." No way. Big Barbacoa, maker of disguise. I should have known. He was my old pal from the New York Correctional Center, a Broadway costume designer turned criminal. Every disguise I own, I owe it to him. Seems like there's something else in this box too. Better not be anything lethal. Last time I opened a package from him, I was almost burned to bits. Couldn't smell for weeks. Silly little prankster. At the bottom of the chest was a frontiersman cap, a costume he'd sewn from his days working on Peter Pan the musical. I immediately put it on and felt my sneak speed increase tenfold. And if you'd like to see my happiness increase tenfold, be sure to check out more of my fun videos on YouTube. Just look up Zozo and fancy yourself a new adventure full of costumes and drama. After you finish watching this one, of course. From day 27 to day 31, Smith Weapon told me that he had been going all out on the statue and that building it was very fulfilling in an artistic sense.
It almost reminds me of the peace and tranquility I felt back when I lived in the cherry blossom forest.
Peace? Tranquility? Get your head in the game, Smith. You're supposed to be getting prepared for the big job where we heist the super secure bank.
Maybe I would, if I knew when we were going or where the rest of the crew was.
That's a very good point. I'll have to think about it.
Till you know what we're doing. I'm working on this statue, and it's gonna be my main priority.
You know what? That's fair. How can I help?
I could really use some exotic leaves. Nobody knows where to get any. In fact, I've never even heard of any.
All right, elusive special material. Got it. I'll see what I can do. This was a job for the Jeep. In order to seek the unfindable, I had to travel to one of the most unlikely places I had ever known. The Oasis biome was exactly that. You know, peace and tranquility might not be so bad after all, though I do really need to get those exotic leaves. Out of the blue came one of the officers who had been on my tail since I spawned in.
Stop right there, you scum. I'm going to put an end to your extra-legal hijinks with my crossbow bolts. It's a classic you break the rules, we break you thing.
You officers sure do love to attack people out of nowhere. Though in my case, I am a robber, so it's probably fair. I drew my dual crossbows, and we proceeded to have a super incredible projectile duel. I won, of course, because I'm the best around, and nothing's ever gonna bring me down. Mess with the Zozo and get the crossbow, Zo. Yeah, well, time to get some of those exotic-looking leaves. From day 32 to day 35, while I was gathering more of the exotic leaves, I was confronted by another cop, Officer Dumbface, who was apparently partner in crime to the last policeman I just took out. His name wasn't actually Officer Dumbface, but I just thought he had a really dumb face. I circled Dumbface with my car, and because he didn't have a license, made made him feel pretty bad about himself. Probably worse than he already felt because, again, I just destroyed his best friend. It didn't take Dumbface long before he collapsed, defeated, laying in the middle of my traffic circling. Never heard of a cop being defeated by too many donuts. From behind me, I heard congratulatory clapping, somehow louder than the engine of my car. I parked and turned around to see my old pal Big B in the flash.
Told you I'd see you soon.
Big B, my main man. How's life off the grid been treating you?
Been great. Haven't changed this particular mascot in years. Being so far removed from the public, there's been no need. Met a partner, started a family. Met a kid, not having to worry about disguises for myself. I was able to pour all my costume making skills into sewing my baby daughter princess gowns.
I always knew you'd be a great father.
I was, but if I can teach you anything, Zozo, it's that a life of crime follows you far after you've left. My baby's been kidnapped by a guy who thinks he's better than me. Since I left the biz, he practically stole my name. Guy under the alias of Bigger B. His costume skills are less than none.
You've taught me so much about the crime life, Big B. I'd be a fool not to help you. Leave it to me. We'll have your daughter back quicker than you can sew another gown. From day 36 to day 39, I still owed my buddy Barbacoa a solid. If I could rescue his baby, then he might be able to lend his Master of Disguise skills to my heist team. Of course, first I need to find where Bigger B took the baby. Where would I live if I were an unstable blue ogre who kidnaps people? A swamp? It turned out that the city back alley harbor was the ideal place to look, obviously. Before long, I managed to find a suspicious shack that could only be the safe house of another criminal. I used my speedy stealth ability to skulk around the base and eavesdrop on what was going on inside. Sure enough, I heard Bigger B, the blue ogre, talking very loudly about his true motives.
Now that I have his daughter, Big B Barbacoa will have to join my crew. Then we'll rob the super secure bank together as two different sized guys with the same letter at the start of our name.
I could hear Big B's baby daughter as well. She was being held captive right there on the base.
You might be bigger than my dad, but you're not tougher than him. And he has friends too, unlike you.
I don't need friends. I'm really, really big.
And he was. Too big for me to take on in a straightforward fight. I would need to come up with a plan to take him by surprise. What if I surprise him with my crossbow? Doesn't matter how big he is if I blast him with a ton of projectiles. From day 40 to day 43, I decided it was best to get some high ground as I sneakily sped around the harbor, aided by my frontiersman cap, and begin my onslaught of bow and arrow bombardment. I super jumped high into the air with every shot, making sure to keep Big B's tiny baby out of my line of fire. It wasn't long before Bigger B, the blue ogre, succumbed to my reign of terror. Yeah, that's right. The only swamp-dwelling ogres I love are green. I enter scenes to Smash Mouth music, non-diegetically. I swooped Big B's baby up into my arms.
Oh no, I'm not being kidnapped again, am I?
Well, technically, yes, because you're a kid and I'm napping you, but I'm bringing you back to your dad, so I think this time it's ethically sound. I led Baby B back to Big B, who gratefully embraced her in a hug.
I'm so sorry for letting you out of my sight, sweetheart.
It's okay, Dad. I'm the one who crawled away for no particular reason, other than to create a bit of narrative drama.
My little theater kid, I'm so proud of you.
Speaking of good storytelling, it'd be great if you could join my team of criminals, Big B. Big sum we're targeting at Super Secure Bank could support your family for generations.
I appreciate the offer, Zozo, but I think I've had enough action for a while. I have a daughter to keep safe. I can't let her suffer the same fate my wife did.
Oh, Big B, I'm so sorry.
It's the casualty of the X-profession. I've been trying to make peace with it. Speaking of, my actress wife used to get tons of odd things thrown on the stage during curtain. Take these extra exotic leaves. She would have wanted you to have it.
Oh, this is so much more useful than a bouquet. Thanks, Big B.
Anytime. Be safe out there, Zozo. I may not like the spotlight anymore, but if you ever need anything behind the scenes, I'm your old man.
From day 44 to day 49, I had managed to bring back the borderline unheard of exotic leaves and given it to Smith Weapon, the weaponsmith.
Thanks, Zozo. Now I can continue to find peace in my work on the statue.
Well, don't find too much peace. We still need to go commit some crimes later.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Once I have achieved my mastercraft, we'll go and shake down that super secure bank for all it's worth.
And how? In the meantime, I think I'll do a little bit of building myself. And I did. Yeah, sorta. It turned out to be a whole lot of placing, as I committed to putting up a solid security system around the entire safe house. I honestly might have gotten carried away with this one. I mean, come on, how many cameras does one need? That's only going to make this place seem more conspicuous. Oh well, I was too tired to take some of them down though, so I went back to see the progress on the statue. It looked like Weaponsmith had really made use of the exotic leaves, and whatever this statue was going to look like was closer to being visible than ever.
Isn't building things excellent, my friend?
I prefer mining personally, but between those two things, you could have a heck of a smash hit game on your hands.
And how?
I just hope that the suspicious cameras I put up doesn't result in our safe house getting sieged and our whole operation being rumbled. From day 50 to day 53, the wall of cameras resulted in our safe house getting sieged and our whole operation being rumbled. Go figure.
I'm deploying a whole SWAT team on you now, Zozo.
Yeah, and I'll swat you away like the pest you are. Detective Pacino and I bounced back with witty quips, which in retrospect was a huge mistake. I was too occupied in being a quotable main character that not only was our entire safe house turned into an unsafe cop city, but Smith Weapon had been unlawfully detained.
You can't arrest me. You have no grounds. This entire ground is grounds to arrest you. I mean, have you seen this place? A room full of weapons for video games. An entire computer room for playing those video games. You have the right, and you really should remain silent right now. You're giving me a headache.
The officer pushed poor Smith Weapon off the balcony, stole my car, and violently dragged my friend behind the car. By the time I realized what was going on, he was already gone. Smith Weapon! No, you can't do this! You're all weapons, evil! I deployed my dual crossbow, heartless! I readied myself, weapons! In a fiery rage, I unleashed a wave of arrows into the officers surrounding my base. I was able to take out the majority, but not the ones who stole my best friend away. Watching Detective Pacino metaphorically rip Smith Weapon from my hands was utterly devastating. I was so upset, I leveled up. I may have gained the ability to climb walls and earned 18 hearts, but without Smith around, my heart was rendered empty. From day 54 to day 57, I was checking my cameras. I knew it had been the reason we got attacked, and Smith was arrested, but I couldn't help but act against my better judgment. I feel like I'm in way too deep with these cameras. It's like a symbol for the straight and narrow life I could have led, instead of being a criminal who pilfers gold and other material wealth to survive. It's like a whole inner battle. While I was removing the cameras, it dawned on me that I needed to think about what I was going to do with myself after the big job on the super secure bank. Maybe I should make this my last big heist. I could retire like Smith to a life of peace and tranquility at the spry age of 100 days. I wanted to ask Smith about his perspective on this, but he was now in the custody of Detective Pacino. There was only one person I could turn to. I hopped on my Vespa and drove over to the Oasis to meet up with Big B and discuss the prospect of getting out after I robbed the bank.
I remember having a similar crisis back in my own cool and detailed backstory, Zozo. It seems like you really have to search your soul for the life you want to have. It's all up to you.
I want to change, Big B. Being a bank robber is nothing but trouble in the long run. But at the same time, Detective Pacino won't rest until I'm behind bars just like Smith.
I do wish I could help you more, but this is a trial you're going to have to conquer yourself. But just remember, Zozo, you can truly be anyone. That's my wisdom as a master of disguise.
From day 58 to day 62, I drove down to the mines. This time, a bit slower than the posted speed limit. An action still reprehensible by law. I was still engaging in a criminal-like action, but it was nice to stop and smell the roses for a change. And by roses, I mean stalactites, because it was a cavern. I need a more sustainable form of income. Better way to do that than by mining for the world's most valuable stone, diamond. As I explored the caves on my Vespa, I was attacked by a group of dread knights. They clearly didn't realize I was going through a moment of internal retrospection, so I brawled them for a while. At some point, I was getting overwhelmed, so I used my Vespa to get some distance. Turns out, getting some speed on a Vespa and swinging my sword is really effective in defeating the knights. Diamonds, diamonds, and more diamonds. I'm gonna be stinking rich. I'm gonna be... Wait, Zozo, this life isn't about money. It's about enjoying the little things, treating yourself from time to time, I think. And I think I'm gonna make myself something for me, like Smith always used to do. The mines were called the mines for a reason, and so I decided to take some me time, all by myself. Wanting to pursue a hobby of my own, I peacefully crafted myself a diamond pickaxe. Smith was right. It's nice to not always destroy. Sometimes it feels good to create. From day 63 to day 66, I went to stand beneath Smith Weapons' now completed statue. Knowing him, I imagined it would be a giant crossbow or something, but it was actually something that was a lot more subdued. Smith had built a beautiful and fully accurate statue of one of the cherry blossom trees from the cherry blossom forest. In every block, I could feel the peace and tranquility that he had been able to find for himself. Apart from all the material spent building it, the meaning of the statue was something that money couldn't buy. I never should have dragged Smith back into this. He was out, and I pulled him back in. I have to make things right by going to save him. I'll bail him out with the money that I get from the ultimate heist. Is that allowed? Will that work? I don't really know. But what I do know is that you will have something money can't buy if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go on a whole lot more adventures after I get done robbing this bank, so stay tuned for that and let me know what you want me to be next. Maybe not 100 more days as a bank robber though. I think I'm out. After this one last hurrah, that is. From day 67 to day 70, I rode up to the super secure bank. I knew it wasn't called the super secure bank for nothing, so instead of barraging my way through the front doors, I decided I'd take more of a stealthy approach. I wall climbed up the side of the bank, and in ultimate heist style, removed a ceiling panel, swiftly dropping down into the air vents. Down on my knees, I crawled around, making sure not to step on any booby traps. Man, it's so dark in here. They really must not want anyone's grubby fingers and their massive stash of cash. I crawled some more when the vents suddenly turned down and I fell into an abandoned room. I squinted and looked around, hoping to catch any signs leading to dollar signs. There were nothing but abandoned tables, cobwebs, and pressure plates scattered around the floors. Oh boy, one wrong move and I could be turned to ash or ice or experience some high-budget death scene a popular heist movie would have. There were far too many plates along the floor. Tiptoeing tenderly, I decided it would be in my best interest to jump back up to the ceiling, walking along it Spider-Man style. Popping my cap back on, I used my stealthy speed to wander down the hall, soon hearing the voices of officers below me.
Think he'll really come?
With the amount of money we promised would be here?
Absolutely! This place is like a criminal magnet. Little do they know, they're just stupid, mindless bugs. And this super secure bank is one big sheet of fly paper.
From day 71 to day 74, I had now slipped past the perimeter of cops and was deep inside the oddly maze-like depths of the super secure bank. Weird, there are no tellers around at all. Thought for sure I'd at least see an ATM machine. Or wait, doesn't the M stand for machine? Shouldn't I be saying AT machine? Interrupting my stunning discoveries of how words work, a guard flipped into view and proceeded to hit me with a running tackle.
Forget AT machines. I'm a fighting machine. Ready to give in to the long battle-hardened truncheon of the law?
No way! I'm in the middle of a bank robbery. You can't take me to prison.
You fool. You don't understand. You're already in a prison. The super secure bank was a ruse from the start. This is a super secure, super duper max for criminals like you. The only vault here is the cell we put your friend in, and you're about to become his cellmate.
Wait, so it was all a lie? A fake bank? Who comes up with this stuff?
It was all Detective Pacino's idea. He knew that the most prolific bank robber in the world could never resist trying to do the ultimate heist. And like a fly in a Venus flytrap, you have succumbed to his trickery.
All right, I get it. Jeez, the main thing I got from all of that was that my friend Smith is here. I'm going to save him, and we're gonna walk away from this for good. You'll never catch us.
Well, maybe I won't, but the detective will. And the thought of that almost makes it worth knowing you're going to knock me out with one punch.
I swung with all my might, and sure enough, the guard was right. He fell unconscious. What a lightweight. Now, to save Smith. Before I left, I looted an exploding crossbow off the guard. He won't miss this. Wait, yes he will. From day 75 to day 78, I crouched past the pressure plates and then sped through the super secure prison's dark corridors, hopping, jumping, and dodging every trap that stood in my way. I even had to disable some wire traps. Ouch! Why are there so many lethal traps in here? This is basically premeditated murder. You guys should be charged with far more crimes than me. I followed the sound of a lonesome harmonica, the solemn tune leading me to a far-off room and straight to Smith's weapon. I'd recognize that tune anywhere. It's the song you played on the first day we met.
Didn't call me jailbird back in Alcatraz Correctional Facility for nothing.
Tweeting tunes and singing songs. Smith, how I've missed you.
Missed you too, buddy. Now let's get out of here. Detective Pacino's been expecting you, and I'm worried you've already been spotted.
I managed to pick the lock of Smith's cell with one of my arrowheads, aided by a lone small branch from Smith's old cherry blossom tree.
Breaking me out with one of my branches. How poignant.
Your statue really made me reflect. I may have come here for the money, but I planned on using it to bail you out, not for ultra-criminal bragging purposes. Spawning my car, me and Smith hopped into the vehicle and sped past Detective Pacino. He looked like a deer in the headlights. From day 79 to day 84, I drove away from the super secure Supermax in my getaway car without knowing that Detective Pacino still held a secret trump card.
You'll be back, Zozo. You won't be able to resist the temptation of the entire fortune that lies in an even more secure banking facility underneath this decoy bank. It contains all of the money that I have won from my many years of bringing criminals to justice. And without the security key, his next attempt is doomed to failure. At long last, I will have my revenge and arrest this bank robber. Sure, I had to go a little off the books for this, but that suits me just fine.
Pacino transformed from an upstanding paragon of the law to a terrifying force of vengeance disguised as justice. That's not a metaphor, by the way. He did grow humongous and get a bigger number of hearts. No fair. How come breaking the law has never given me an all-powerful bad guy form? From day 85 to day 89, Smith and I sped 17 times over the posted speed limit and arrived back at our safe house.
I know you said that was your last heist, but you don't understand, Zozo. If we don't stop Pacino now, he'll just keep scheming and scheming. And with all that pent-up rage, turn into a bigger criminal than we were.
Then what do you suggest we do?
I overheard so many of those coppers talking about some super secret real bank under the fake bank. Detective Pacino is a brilliant guy, dare I say, smarter than Detective Sherlock Holmes himself. But his lackeys, not so bright, yapping it up right outside of my cell. We're able to take back all of his money in an act of justice. We can redistribute it to all the criminals he tried to ruin the lives of. Ex-convicts like us, Big B, and far more people who deserve a comfortable life. Lives he tried to shorten by putting us behind bars for most of our years.
Know what, Smith? You're right. Detective Pacino did something I never did. One of the biggest criminal acts a man could ever do. And that was lie. Lie about the nature of the super secret bank. Lie about our friends to get them convicted for longer, false charges, and unjust detainment.
This is so deep.
I don't actually know what I'm saying. Driving that fast made me want to throw up, so I think I'm just speaking in word vomit. Anyways, how do we get back down to that bank?
Like any good heist, we're gonna need to snatch a key, thanks to Bigger B's little brain. I know exactly where you can find it.
From day 90 to day 94, I drove down to the docks in order to search the docks for the security key. If he really did steal it for his own planned heist, I can use that as an opportunity to get my hands on it. That's when I saw that the area was swarming with police officers. They were snooping around on the outside of the house and within. Detective Pacino must have sent them. Good thing I'm an expert at stealth by now. I used my frontiersman cap to move from cover to cover, always keeping out of sight with the fuzz. Before long, I was inside the docks and searching through what was left of Bigger B's ill-gotten gains for the security key. I were a big blue ogre. Where would I keep a stolen security key? Naturally, I found it in the last place I'd looked, because there's no reason to keep looking if I found it. On the way out, a couple of cops spotted me, but I hotwired a nearby van and drove off at top speed. They tried to chase me down, but nobody catches Zozo. I now had the security key, and the big payout for the ultimate heist was as good as mine. From day 95 to day 97, I proudly twirled the key between my fingers like a true winner. Yeah, just kidding. I don't have fingers because this is Minecraft. Key snatched. Heist completed. Side quest heist. Prepare for the big heist, which is raiding Detective Pacino's real bank, which is hidden underneath a fake bank. Before my brain could explode from the complexity of it all, Big B turned up.
All of this sounds really convoluted. That's part of the reason I left the heist scene in the first place.
Big B, you're here!
Yeah, I heard about Bigger B's house getting raided in the news. I was glad to hear it. I've always hated that guy.
For once, justice really was served. Anyways, I thought you were out of the crime business. So why are you here? I'm like a police magnet.
You've been close to getting caught multiple times, and I was getting worried. I brought you this, a potion of invisibility. It's the ultimate disguise. So good, your enemies won't even be able to see you.
Gee, thanks, Big B. It really means a lot to me that you care.
You know, in all my years of working alongside you, teaching you everything I know, I've always seen you as a son of sorts.
Oh, Big B, that's really sweet. Hey, speaking of you having kids, where's your daughter right now? Didn't you say you'd never let her out of your sight after the whole Bigger B sitch?
I did say that, didn't I? Maybe I'm not such a great father.
On day 98, I recited my foolproof heist plans to myself because I knew that I had to be in tip-top condition to pull off this job. I can't tell you about them though, because then they won't work out in a satisfying way. Best heists are total surprises, kinda like wishes that we hope come true. Speaking of wishes, I wish you would subscribe to the channel and show your support for my next adventure where I don't have to rob banks anymore. What if I did something peaceful, like 100 days as a tree? Nah, too boring. No, too boring. I kinda figured. On day 99, I hauled my one-man heist team back to the super secure bank in order to steal Detective Pacino's fortune from the vault beneath the prison. I drove my getaway car as far as I could before I left it behind and entered the front door of the bank. Detective Pacino was waiting for me inside, ready to use any means at his disposal to ensure my disposal.
One way or another, bank robber Zozo, this feud between us ends today. Justice will be served, and it will be served cold.
He fired his rapid crossbow at me, now souped up with the frost enchantment, and I knew exactly what he meant. I can't let him distract me. Gotta get to the vault. I activated the security key, giving myself the surge in hearts that was long overdue. I was maxed out at 100 hearts and could now smash through any wall in my path. Nothing could keep me from getting down to the lowest level of the bank. Not even the detective. He continued to chase me and fire his crossbow, but I drank my potion of invisibility and managed to outmaneuver him. I soon reached the vault, used the key to open the doors, and inside I saw the vast sums of gold and diamonds and emeralds, which were all mine for the taking. I loaded as much as I could into my inventory and tore through the walls until I was back at my car.
No, this isn't over. You ruined my career and stole my money!
Pacino shouted as he tried to chase me down in his big form. But unfortunately, his obsession with revenge had blinded him, and he fell into the ocean, never to return. I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles. Or the detective stumbles. On day 100, I was celebrating my win with the best partners in crime a bank robber could ask for. Big B and Smith weapon. I can't believe I actually pulled off the heist. I'll be able to be flush with cash for the rest of my days.
And you couldn't have done it without us.
What are you talking about? I did it without you. I did the whole heist by myself.
He's right. We didn't do anything.
We all laughed and laughed as our days of crime were finally behind us.